Welcome to this week's Whole Wheat Costa. Tonight on the beer table, Kevin brought over Yingling Oktoberfest because it's the middle of summer and fall things are starting to come out. I drank 2 shots of honey whiskey. That was pretty delicious. We would have had his normal champagne of beers, but I drank that in about 5 minutes, 32-ounce can, and in about 5 minutes last night, so we need a new beer for this week.
I drank it throughout the entire podcast last time and then dumped out the rest of it. So
yeah, I'm a professional. Don't try that at home. So we were just talking about how it's the middle of August. It's actually been pretty nice. It's been 80 almost the entire month. Never too hot. And we were talking about how people are already excited for fall so they can start doing fall things. But I've barely done any summer things. Like, for instance, the Renaissance Fair in PA is coming, and I want to go to that. And that's typically a fall thing. And I'm already like planning to go. I'm like Oktoberfest, and I'm like, shit, it's only August. Why am I so excited about October?
Yeah, I bought this Oktoberfest beer because I saw it, and it depressed me because I saw someone's Instagram thing this morning about being excited for doing fall things. I guess the kind of person that would post that, with the Uggs and the
Frappuccinos
and the pumpkin lattes and whatnot, but yeah, it just made me think of, well, I want to do some, like I said, like JD said, I want to do some summer things. I don't know. I feel like I've been freaking myself out lately as far as like, I don't know, just thinking about missing things in life. I mean, I'm fairly certain whoever's listening to our podcast at this point probably is, I'm going to say it was safe to assume has no jobs because if you listen to our podcast, that means you've listened to the 1,000 better podcasts. And just to have that time in the week, I mean, you're probably not working, or maybe you're in a job where you listen to podcasts all day. JD just gave me a side note. But yeah, so yeah, I was thinking about, the working through jobs thing and the, missing out on some weekends, and the fact that we've been down the shore for a total of maybe like 8 hours so far. Yeah, I was thinking 6 hours at first. That would be more accurate.
Yeah, the only time I went down the shore this year, I went twice. Sorry, I went twice. Once for my brother and his son, and then the other one was a friend's shore house, and then I drank a 6-pack in about an hour. So for the next 3 hours, I didn't remember it. Then I went to bed 3 hours after that, and then I spent an hour on the beach.
Yeah, I don't know. And then that led me to think about, I feel like I've been freaking out about, any days I've taken off over the summer where we're working my second job, and about like in the spring I took a day off, and me and Sam went to like a museum place the whole day, and it was like probably the best day I've had in the last like 6 months. So, and I just keep thinking about like, he's like 2.5. I mean, I only have another like couple of years to do that stuff before he's going to be in real school, and I can't just pull him out. Right. And like I've been like freaking myself out about that stuff. I mean, I guess it's still 2 years, but I mean, it goes by super quick.
It does. It's crazy because I've known Sam since he was a little baby.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, you got 2 years. Like he barely walks and he barely talks, and then you realize watching my niece and nephew grow up that like a couple years ago, I'm changing Lily's diapers, and now she's telling me what to do.
And now she's sending back food at restaurants. I ordered nachos. This is chips and cheese.
Yeah,
you're an idiot. You're an idiot, sir.
I think, what's today's date? 14th.
Yeah, 14th.
She's turning 8 today.
Today's
her 8th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday! This is the Lily birthday podcast.
Yes. A couple of weeks ago, I asked her, I go, Lily, I got to pay $34,000 in loans. What should I do for a second job? And she goes, you should be a bartender. And I go, I'm like,
that's good advice.
Yeah. And I was like, you're 8 years old. How do you know what a bartender does? She goes, bartenders, they talk to people. You talk to everyone. Leave me alone. And then she went back to play with toys. I was like, oh my God, she's growing up.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good advice. Probably better advice than I would have given you. Yeah. So you should probably ask Lily for any advice in the future.
Right. I was like, that's a pretty good idea. But the thing is, I can't work at a corporate place because they don't let you have a couple shots before your shift. So, back to autumn.
Mm. So, that's all I had to say about autumn. But you know what? So interesting thing. So this is like real personal, but no one's listening to this anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, not until iTunes lets me post it.
Yeah. That Kelly separated from Allison's dad when she was like really young, and it sort of worked out okay. I mean, for her and Allison, I mean, he's a shithead, but like sort of theoretically worked out okay, and like it's all Allison's ever known. And like that was part of what I was thinking at the time was like, oh well, this is like how Sam's gonna know how it is. That like me and his mom just don't live together. Better to do it now than like when he gets older and is used to that or whatever, and it'd be more traumatic. I had a couple other people with similar stories that I knew, so that was sort of my like, I mean, right or wrong, that's like sort of how I like talk myself up to actually like end a relationship I didn't want to be in. What's that?
I grew up, my parents separated when I was 7.
Yeah.
So I grew up like that, and it's real difficult. And I went through that where like I would go to my dad's and I would tell him about like what my mom and her boyfriend, and now Lily, my niece, she's going through that too. Like she'll talk and she doesn't know any better. She doesn't want to hurt she's not hurting her dad's feeling, my brother's feelings. Yeah. And she'll be like, yeah, well, I was talking to Mr. Paul, and like you see in his eyes, like, I don't want to hear about this.
Yeah.
That's your stepdad. I don't want to hear about this.
Yeah. But yeah, so but then I remember like a few months after like we had, we separated or whatever. I saw a picture of Kelly and Allie's dad at Lynn Villa. And this is the fall thing made me think of this. And Allie was born in January, and this is the next November. So I was like, I was like really upset about it because I was like, wait, I was under the impression that like the same thing was going on, but you guys were together for like a whole fucking like 9 months. Like this is bullshit. And like I was like pretty upset about it. And I was like years, it was like almost 3 years ago now. So I just thought about it recently. We were out to dinner, and like she said something that made me think about it. And I like told her a story because I don't know in my head. And then, of course, that led to like, oh, so you regret leaving your ex-wife? And I was like, no, these were thoughts I had in my head till like 2.5 to 3 years ago. Right. Like I'm just telling you like something that I think is kind of like interesting that I thought at the time. And then I'm like, and then she's like, well, you thought it. I was like, yeah, I thought it like 3 years ago. Right. Like I'm not saying I'm thinking that now. I'm saying like I had this initial shock when I saw this picture. It is what made me think.
Yeah, it's. But then you got to realize, like I've heard so many stories where you see this picture 9 months later, and like it's kind of like jealousy or like Kelly.
Yeah, I felt like misled basically.
But you have to remember, you also saw a sex tape with him in a bar or something like that.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
A couple months later.
It's true.
So it's not that big of a deal. But I understand what you're getting at. Speaking of that, my ex left me and found someone else, right? So this guy that, friends of a friend, whatever, this is kind of a story. Like I found out about this like 2 weeks ago, but I finally messaged him about it. And now we're like good friends over it. He was engaged to this girl. And then like she goes, I'm going to go to the beach with my mom. Okay, cool.
Wait, is this the guy? Is the guy that she's with, or an unrelated guy we're talking about?
No, this guy. No, just unrelated guy. It's a friend of a friend. Okay, and so his fiance goes, it's my ex's stepsister,
huh?
Dating this guy.
Yeah,
weird. But anyway, she goes, I'm gonna go to the beach with my mom. And then he goes, all right, cool. Later that day, she tags a guy in an Instagram photo, like a meme, right? And he's like, hey, what's about that? 2 weeks later, they're dating in a relationship. And I was like, what? So I finally messaged him. I was like, I know how it feels. He's like, yeah, same shit happened to you. And I was like, yeah, at least you didn't sign your marriage license. And then 21 days later, she goes, let's get a divorce. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh my God, yeah, that's terrible. He's
Yeah.
like, so between this, like now we're talking. Like I never really liked the guy. It's like now we're friends, you know.
Yeah, that's good.
And relationships are weird.
Yeah, I would say I lasted a year, so I can buy a resume. So they can totally call for references. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I would. What was I just thinking of when you were telling that story? Shit,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably about Kelly and being, you know, like pseudo unfaithful.
Oh,
yeah.
yes. So maybe think of two things. One was, she was she told me today that the one girl that she works with, who's like really like black hair, like I mean that's
the black hair.
That's the only way I can describe the girl. But she really reminds me a lot of Kelly. But except for she's like, so like she legit like cheats on her boyfriend and stuff. And
Is that? Are you saying that because she's black, or is she just a terrible person?
no,
Oh, okay.
she's like confirmed that she talks about it. It essentially tells funny stories about how she hides it from him that she's bad.
It's like the world's worst anxiety puzzle.
Yeah, but we were driving home. Kelly was saying that this girl was talking about how she's having trouble with her boyfriend because like the same thing like my like jealous anxiety stuff that like her boyfriend has the same thing and like gives her shit when she's going out and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but she's banging other guys. Like he should give her shit about going out. Maybe don't bang other guys. Maybe that would solve your problems.
Maybe I didn't give enough shit.
Yeah.
Like there's like when it comes to relationships, there's a weird mix of shit giving and not shit giving. You know, like where do you like? Oh, it's okay, but where do you draw the line? Like, no, that's not okay. Like either way, I feel like there's gonna be a fight. Oh, you don't ever care when I go out. Oh, you care too much when I go out. You're like, how do I not have an argument?
No, I do think it's a thing because I mean it got to the point with my ex-wife where like neither of us really cared like what the other one was doing that much. I mean, I was a pretty shitty person for a couple of years. She just put up with it.
Yeah. I would hang out with you on a Friday and then hang out with her on a Saturday. Yeah. And like, where's Kevin? Or like, where's Laura? And,
basically.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we stopped doing things together, and like we didn't really. She would go out to like a bar or something with her friends. I mean, I wouldn't really care at all. Be like, I get some alone time. It's great. but and then like the other way around, I mean, I would say, any of the stuff that happened between, me and Kelly before it should have happened, you would say, would never happen now. Like, I mean, right. I don't know. Kelly like got pissed at me the other day because she was like, I don't know. She like put it in her head together that like, oh, you only stay late at work when this one other girl stays late at work. What's up with that? Like I basically like she knows my history. She knows how I am. I was like, we're making phone calls, calling patients back.
Yeah, it's a set. It's like a set day. Like it's Wednesday. Like there's no rush to be home.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah, and it's like, well, there's a pattern. It's not like she's like, oh, I'm staying Tuesday, and then like next week, oh, I'm staying Thursday, and then there's a pattern. So maybe you are doing something.
Yeah.
But you can't even complain. Like you can complain in your head, but you can't complain because you're one of the most jealous people I know.
I know, but that's why I said to her, I was like, well, we're like calling patients. I was like, and half the time you're there, you come down and sit with us while we're calling patients.
She's looking like out of her left, giving you dirty looks, and like you're not even interacting with the other ladies. You're just like, yeah, Mr. Johnson, your penis is gonna fall off, and she's like, that's what is that, a joke? You're like, what?
No, really, his penis is gonna fall if it's an emergency.
Yeah. Like the other girls giggle. Oh, you make her laugh. Like I'm not making anyone laugh. Like penis falling off is kind of funny.
Not for that guy though.
No, not for them. Like
I like how you pick Mr. Johnson as the name too.
Yeah. So, but now that we we kind of brought up that racism. So Charlottesville.
Yeah. So So I would say this is so, and I was pretty. I mean, I was never pro Trump, but I was pretty anti Hillary, and for a while, going on social media and like I was really pissed at all like the liberal people I was friends with and like what I thought was ridiculous stuff they posted. But I would say I have been in 100% agreement with anything even my most like hardcore liberal friends have said about this whole situation. At first hearing the story, I thought it was my initial reaction that like the story was like, oh, Donald Trump condemned, the action, but didn't condemn it hard enough. Like I thought it was ridiculous, but it actually is kind of true. Right. I mean, I think you can make, if you want to be a Trump apologist, I think you can make an argument that like what he said is true. He just said it very, very poorly. I think there's no reason not to call it terrorism when, I mean, essentially you're trying to use terror to break up like a counter protest. I think that's terrorism.
Yeah. I saw a bunch of like memes on Facebook and Instagram. It's like, stop white terrorism. How about you just stop all like terrorism?
That's the problem. And I mean, maybe that's what he was trying to say. Yeah. And if that's the case,
stop
I mean, he said it
terrorism.
terribly.
Yeah. No, please stop all terror. Yeah, stop white terrorism, but stop all terrorism. Yeah. There's like no reason like a bomb should go off or you should run a car into a crowd. And if people are protesting and there's an opposite protest, like that's what America's built on. Like you could protest what you want and then the other people can protest the opposite, and that's cool. But like, don't get mad at the people that are the opposite because, I mean, that guy who ran a car into the crowd, he's an asshole.
He should get murder. He should get, 1 million counts of attempted murder.
19 counts of attempted murder. And that's fine. Like, I'm definitely against racism. I'm pretty liberal. Like, I feel like whatever makes you happy, like that's fine. Just don't push it on me. And just because you have the freedom of speech doesn't mean you should use it. Yeah. Like there's things like there's a lot of arguments that I'm okay with. Like there's people that are pro-life, pro-choice, and I really can't take a stance on that. I can't condemn one and then applaud the other. And I'm like, well, these people have different points of view, and I want to respect both, and I want to listen and and just mind my own business. But like when it comes to Nazism, like okay,
I think we can universally condemn Nazism.
Yeah, like when people have torches and they're doing like a Nazi salute, you're like, that guy should be punched in the face. You know? I'm all right. Like if people are like, I want to save it's the General Lee statue, right?
Well, that's one of the things I want to talk about is that I think it's ridiculous they're taking the statue down.
Right. He is. I mean, he's a Virginian.
Yeah, he's a Virginian. He's part of our history. He was anti-slavery.
Yeah, he was anti-slavery, and he's like, well, I'm a Virginian. He's like, if Virginia was on, he said that if Virginia was on the North, I'd be a general on the North. Yeah. But I'm a Virginian, and that was like his nationalism. So he's like, I mean, it is bittersweet. Like he's an American hero, but on the wrong side of history, you know? So, I mean, there's people that are like, take it down. And there's other people like, keep it up. It's part of our history. And they're right.
Yeah.
Maybe, the Confederate States were wrong, but he is part of history. Like he's not a condemning part of history.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, so the thing I don't know, and I heard this hint at one place, but like the news media was so skewed about this part of the story that like I honestly watched off and on for hours. Like I was at work, so like I would catch little bits and pieces, but it was hours before I even knew what the protest was about because the news media doesn't care about the facts anymore. Right. But I mean, yeah, I mean it's so he's a guy who like you were sort of saying. I mean, there's letters he's written to his wife that he was anti-slavery. There's some evidence that, I mean, he was in the South, so he owned slaves. Right. But there's some evidence that he, educated the people that he, owned, that he treated them really well. I mean, that doesn't sort of justify it, but that he helped escape slaves from other places. I don't know. I haven't looked at it enough to like really verify any of that stuff, but I mean, he basically I think he has one quote that like if he owned 4 million slaves, and he could give them all up to like not have Virginia in the war, like he would give it up because he didn't really care about it. He didn't believe in it. It was just sort of the way it was where he lived.
Virginia was one of the last holdouts too.
Yeah,
to join the war.
Yeah, but he's basically he was an accomplished American commander, and then he said he just couldn't raise his sword against his home, and like how many people would do the same thing? I mean, no matter what the cause was, right. I mean if I don't know, I feel like if like Philadelphia were doing something bad and like another country tried to invade Philadelphia because they were going to do the right thing, I would still defend my home. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't, I don't know. Yeah. I think he did what most people would do in that situation. And there's just not a lot of evidence that he was like a bad guy. But the one thing I don't know about the story, as what I was going to say, the one thing I don't know about the story that was hinted at was whether or not the statue was like sort of a rallying point for white supremacists. So I guess, in that case, if the statue is being made by sort of outside groups as a symbol of hate, I mean, that would make sense maybe to move it, not take it down altogether, but like, I could see why you'd want to do something with it. But I mean, just to take it down because he fought for the Confederacy is ridiculous.
Right. There's several aspects when it comes to statues. First, it is a part of American history, whether good or bad, whether you agree with it. And second, it's a piece of art. It's like the Rocky statue. When the Rocky statue was at the art museum, someone said it's fictional work. We got to remove it. So they put it at the Spectrum, and then the Spectrum got demolished. And they're like, we're going to move it back to the art museum.
It's really stupid where it is now. It's like behind a fence and shit now. You have to like stand in line to see it.
Yeah, but it's art. It's still art. It's a part of our history, even though it's pop culture. And I'm not proud of a lot of things America has done because I love history. Like, I read about it. But I'm a proud American. When people ask me my nationality, I tell them it's American. Yeah. Like, I'm an American. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm Irish. Well, you're not Irish. You're, I'm second generation Italian on my dad's side. Yeah. And I'm like 14th generation Irish and Indian on my mom's side. So, like, I'm a proud American. And yeah, America's done a lot of bad things, but so is every other country.
Yeah, and I mean, and there were different reasons why people fought the Civil War. I mean, some people didn't care about slavery, but cared about states' rights. I mean, that's part of what the South is fighting for, right. To be able, because part of, if you go back to like the Articles of Confederation and stuff, like in the Revolutionary War time, I mean, that was the big conflict. Like, they were fighting against the strong central government of England. So part of the idea was like, oh, we shouldn't have a strong central government. Each state should have their own rights. And part of the Southern cause was defending states' rights. I mean, part of the Southern cause was essentially what the entire Republican Party believes in now. Right. And I'm sure there were people in the South that fought for the South because they believed in that, and probably didn't own a slave and didn't give a shit about slavery. I mean, so to say that like we should take down the General Robert E. Lee statue because he fought for the Confederacy. I mean, I'm assuming it's the same crowd that says if you voted for Trump, you're a racist bigot. Like all the stuff I ranted about before.
So the thing is, and and me, nobody else, but I'm a big proponent for states' rights, and right now that's one of our biggest things in this country.
Well, that makes you racist, apparently.
There's so many states that are for the legalization of marijuana, or at least the decriminalization. Yeah. And I think right now, New Jersey's Senator Cory Booker is putting in like the 7th or 8th bill for decriminalization of marijuana. And I feel like, other states that have decriminalized it or made it legal, or even just something as simple as the minimum wage, like the minimum wage in New Jersey is $1 more than the federal minimum wage. And like those two things right now are states' rights. Whereas, like I mentioned before, like marriage, abortion, like that's all, like every state has their differences. And sometimes I feel like the government has to step in to make like a thing, like a couple of years ago, like gay marriage is legal. That's cool. You know what I mean? Someone's morals, but that doesn't matter.
Holy Cost officially supports gay marriage on the record.
Yeah, but I believe in states' rights unless it's really, it's going against people's, like people's rights.
Yeah.
Like people's, there's a big difference between people's rights and people's beliefs. There's a lot of people that believe you should condemn gay marriage. There's a lot of people that believe marijuana should be, abortion should be illegal. But then you have doctors that say, up to this term, it doesn't really hurt. It's not, and then you have marijuana. Here's why we should have a conversation, or gay marriage. Well, these people love each other. They should have the same rights as everybody else. And like, it's beliefs versus rights.
Yeah. And the problem is how politicized it is. I mean, I think we met,
they're all going to get posted.
Yeah.
We have like alpha, beta, Charlie, and then, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. So. But just, with the abortion thing, the idea that, it's a lot of people are really hypocritical about it, and that, and I think the gay marriage thing is a parallel too, in that, a lot of people believe that women should have a right to choose, which is what I believe.
Right.
But then don't think that doc setting where you could perform abortions, but you're uncomfortable with it. It's you're some monster if you won't perform abortions, if you don't believe in it. Like why should a doctor have to do something that they don't believe in?
He shouldn't. I'm not your guy. See you later.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah, but it's such a politicized thing, and we do that in other settings, like in the urology office. I mean, you'll get like a 20-year-old guy that wants a vasectomy, and we'll sit down and be like, yeah, like somebody will do it for you, but I don't know.
I heard a good counter argument to the vasectomy.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good argument. It's sound. It's from a comedian, Ari Shaffir. You get a vasectomy. What's wrong with adoption? Like, if you finally want children,
sure.
Yeah, of course you want to pass your genes, but are your genes really that good to pass on?
Yeah.
Like, I want to have children of my own one day, but do I want my children to be overweight, balding, and live with depression? No, I want to pick a kid that, doesn't have all those.
Yeah.
I can give them a great life, but genetically, I want them also to have a great life.
Yeah, we had a guy one time, the one doctor I work with, who and again, I feel I don't know if I told the story before, but I mean, no one's gonna listen to all these podcasts anyway. So even if I told it before, this is the first time you're hearing it. Who has a similar story to mine, as far as met someone at work. He was already married, whatever. And then and we this meeting, someone was a teenager, and he wanted a vasectomy. He's like, "Oh, we're sure we don't have kids." And we sort of sat him down, like, look, everybody in this room except for you has been divorced. Like we all thought these thoughts before, but it doesn't always work out. Like maybe just wait a little bit, just like guy to guy, just take it from us,
right? Until you go through 1 or 2 divorces, you don't really know everything.
Exactly.
I've met other guys that are 23 and they have problems. I'm like, the older you get, the more by the ways the woman has.
Yeah.
By the way, and you're like, fuck. And then so it's like, once you get divorced and you live through that, you're like, all right, I can handle anything now.
Yeah.
But then there's guys that are one step above me. They have children and they get divorced.
Yeah.
And that makes it even harder. You know.
But yeah, back to the racism stuff, because that's certainly not a terrifying topic or anything. The one thing we're talking about before the podcast,
two white guys, talking about racism. It's wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, the one thing we were talking about before the podcast was about and I think this parallels, I don't know, I guess I guess this is a thing when you have these sort of rich white guys that talk about why they supported Trump, and it's because they were tired of the political correctness. I think if you give them the benefit of the doubt, which some of them were definitely just racist, but if you want to give some of them the benefit of the doubt, I think what people get upset about is the idea that you can't dislike anybody. Like what we talked about was, so if I have, if I meet a black guy or an Asian guy or something that's my same social standing and we have similar life experiences, I will be totally comfortable with that person, you know, if I meet like an inner city black guy that has like a totally different lifestyle than me, I'll probably be uncomfortable. But I'd also be uncomfortable with like an inner city white guy with like totally different lifestyle than me.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the race.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, maybe it's classist, but like, I don't know. I'm just, you're not comfortable with what you don't know, I guess. I don't know.
It's more or less like what you're looking at is ignorance. You know
that's
what
what
it
is. Yeah.
Like you see this person and you judge a book by its cover.
Yeah. I would say I'm ignorant in that sense
But
some of the time.
if you look like me and you, if you on paper,
Yeah.
your socioeconomic status is way higher than mine.
Yeah.
But we get along.
Yeah.
You know me.
Mm-hmm.
But then if we met any other way,
Yeah.
you'd probably, like if the way I dress here, in basketball shorts, whatever. And
That's the way I
flip-flops,
dress now. But if you met me 2 or 3 years ago, when I like dressed
3 years
well.
ago,
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's what we did
like
meet. But
if we met at Oregon Steaks in South Philly, you would scoff at me. But we didn't. We met at your house.
Yeah.
In you know what I mean.
He just wandered in one day. It was crazy.
We got to know each other.
Yeah.
And then you got to see like me. And you're like, okay, this guy is not what he seems. So it's more ignorance than anything.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just like the difference between my dad and I. My dad grew up in the 70s and 80s, just like your dad. And between like Northeast Philly, South Philly and everything, you see this racial divide. There's such a big racial divide that racism kind of grows. Whereas like I grew up in, I guess like more ethnic neighborhoods, not just black. So this racial divide, like I felt I was always part of it, but then I was always looked down upon.
Yeah.
And then
it's crackers.
And now that I live where I live in a mostly white neighborhood, I get along with everyone. Like I walk into a pizza place, like there's high five, and like I feel comfortable.
Oh, white guy, I'm a white guy too. That's cool.
Yeah, and it is like a classist system, and it is that. Ignorance and classist.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm racist because I get along with everyone.
Yeah.
But I feel more comfortable around the people here because I don't get looked down upon.
Yeah. But I think I don't know. And again, if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, although you certainly don't have to because he said a lot of other stupid things and whatever. Right. But Trump's thing about the on both sides, which you had to for some reason repeat a second time. I think the argument you can make is that there were stories of basically counter protesters, beating the crap out of like the white supremacist protesters.
Yeah, but once again, if you do a Nazi salute, you deserve a punch in the face.
Well, you deserve it, but under the law, like both sides should be treated equally. Like the guy that drove his car into the crowd should be in jail forever.
Right.
Any of the white supremacists that attacked any of the counter protesters should be charged, and should also be charged with a hate crime because if you're a self-avowed white supremacist, then whatever you do is a hate crime.
Right.
But any of the counter protesters who attacked the protesters should also get charged with a crime.
They should be charged. But if not even counter protesting, if some guy is spewing like that kind of propaganda and he's doing the Nazi salute, and I punch him in the face, I should probably just get high five.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, in real life, you charge those people, and the judges are like, that wasn't that big of a deal, and that's fine. But there should be, anything you do in life should have some sort of consequence. Yeah. So,
but then again, the people that were there, like that Robert E. Lee statue is our heritage in Virginia.
Yeah.
That should be, you should be able to protest that. That's our heritage.
Yeah.
We're Virginians. He's a Virginian, and what he fought for, what he actually fought for
was Virginia.
It wasn't for slavery.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the lines get muddled, where like you have states' pride.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I have Jersey pride. Which,
You're the only one.
No, a lot of people have Jersey pride. Yeah. It's everybody outside of Jersey that's like, oh, Jersey.
Yeah. But I don't know.
I went on a date with a girl from Delaware, and I asked her, I was like,
I never think about Delaware.
Yeah. And I go, what's Delaware known for? And she like goes into it. She's like, "What's Jersey known for?" I was like, "It's all negative, but here's what it's known for."
Yeah.
And then like the one positive at our beaches, except for
Yeah.
Seaside.
Yeah. But with the protesters though. So the other point I want to make about that was, I think this is the problem with every protest, right? Because if you didn't see anything that happened and you're like, oh, it's a bunch of guys that think that, you know, Robert E. Lee was a part of our history, you know, he doesn't represent slavery, they don't think the statue should be taken down, that sounds pretty reasonable. Right. But the guys that showed up, like, probably didn't even know who the fuck Robert E. Lee was. Right. And just had those crazy shields and torches and all this other shit. But I feel like part of my issue with, I guess, the media here is that I feel like that's every protest. But somehow when there's that was that big women's march, you know, I'm sure half the people there didn't even know the fuck they were marching for, and it was all a ridiculous mess. But they're marching for women. Oh, everything's gonna be equal now. It's the women's march. It's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. I know a lot of women.
Yeah.
Like one of my good friends was like, "That's so stupid."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, why?" And then she explained to me like point for point why the women's march was stupid, and she's like, and like the biggest point was like, she was like, "I'm a female teacher.
Yeah.
I get paid more than all the other guys there." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Really?" And she's like, "I demand respect." Or
Yeah.
I command respect there because of like, and like where she works, it's not like, "Oh, I'm a man." It's more of like, what's your background? What's your degree? What are your references? And like everybody there respects her.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly barriers for women, but this is actually so to transition to our Game of Thrones time. So
I just want to say before we transition,
yeah,
me and you, or you and I, before you Davos Seaworth me and correct my grammar,
yeah,
you and I love history. We love history.
Yeah.
And so we would show up and blah, blah, like, here's why we think the Robert E. Lee. And then the neo-Nazis would show up. And we were like, hey, you want to just drive away and go to a Waffle House? Because this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah. But, I think in my head I was going to say something real racist, like imitate the neo-Nazi people. Then I was like, nah, I probably shouldn't even, like, pretend to say it.
No, that's,
so,
yeah. Here's the line. You just crossed it.
Yeah. But yeah, so Preston Jacobs, official podcast Preston Jacobs right here.
Yeah.
Preston Jacobs fans.
This podcast brought to you by Preston Jacobs.
So his episode review video from episode 4 had some really good points about how Game of Thrones confuses female violence with female empowerment. You know, he made a point that it's the only show that sort of, both pisses off feminists and anti-feminists. But sort of non-Game of Thrones specific, he had a good point about how he would consider himself a feminist because, and I think most reasonable guys probably would if you really thought about it, but he was like, feminism to him is that, you should remove the barriers that keep women from doing the same thing that guys can do in society. But on the other hand, you should remove the barriers that keep men from doing the things that women do in society.
Right, like cry at a movie.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, his point was that, men die 4 years younger on average, and some of it could be just genetic, but, some of it is that, men don't go to the doctors, men drink too much, men take dangerous professions, and it's because they're sort of manly things to do. And just as women get paid less, men do all these, stupid things because they're men.
So I read an article, and that's 78 cents on the dollar for women. It doesn't exist anymore. Okay. It's at this point in most, I guess the best way to put it is like industrialized or city areas. Yeah. Which is the bulk of where people work anyway. Yeah. It's 98 cents to $1 now.
Okay. Close. Yeah. But then he had a point about sort of, violence in, sort of media in general, and the thing was about how, in the average adult male's life, like you don't really have to think about violence, minus JD's story that he could tell at some point where he assaulted a guy at a mall recently.
But it was because he was because he was cursing and
Yes.
he said the C word and there was children around and
Yeah.
I wanted him to shut up.
Yeah. So it was fair, but his thing was, as an adult male, you generally don't have to worry about violence, but as an adult woman, you have to think about, there's domestic violence, there's rape. You have to think about how much you drink at a bar or at a party, who's going to drive you home after a party. And it's more of a, not that, I mean, and as guys, who knows, but not that presumably most women think about this all the time, but it is something that exists, whereas for men, it really doesn't as much. So that in sort of in media, violence is more empowering for men because it's like escapist fantasy. It's like, you think about being like this powerful, powerful warrior or whatever, but like women see violence differently. So the fact that Game of Thrones uses, Daenerys is burning people alive, it means that she's empowered, isn't really that accurate. That's not, just means she's crazy and evil. like that doesn't mean that like women have progressed in society. So I just thought that was a pretty interesting point. But
you have power, but it doesn't mean you're empowered.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean she's earned anyone's respect.
Yeah.
People fear her, but they don't respect her.
Yeah.
And I feel, and the word respect has always been tossed around, but it is it's one of the most powerful words that there are. You could fear someone, but it doesn't mean you respect them.
Yeah.
And someone, you want someone to genuinely like you, not be scared of you.
Yeah. But the other thing, Game of Thrones related, was another YouTube channel I just came across. YouTube channel it might not have tried. Nerd Writer is what it's called, and the guy's pretty interesting. He talks about a lot of cinema things, and for someone who doesn't know much, sort of like sort of really in depth about cinema besides just like watching random movies.
I do.
He has a lot of interesting points, and he has a good video about the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, how that's like the most important Harry Potter movie, and how it sort of teaches kids like important things about like important cinema tropes that sort of exposes kids to like adult level sort of cinema tricks and stuff. And his episode about Game of Thrones was about the Game of Thrones the dragon battle. And it was pretty interesting because he talks about how like when you film, when you make a war film or you film like a battle scene, how there's this, this long-standing tradition of different, a sort of different, sort of like a language of war film. That's sort of started since like the 20s and 30s, since like early war films, and how you're not just making some random, you're not just picking random scenes or events that, and he shows like all the different scenes that are referenced, from sort of older movies in that dragon battle. And it was pretty interesting. So it was a Nerd Writer, and it was like the wagon train episode.
Yeah. Last night's episode, which, could be 8 weeks from now, you hear about this.
Yeah.
They talk about how the dragon came down and burned 1,000 wagons.
Yeah.
Or something like 100 or 1,000. And the army didn't seem that big.
Yeah. There's a lot of wagons though. But I was pretty excited for Gendry. Yeah. Initially watching it, I thought the plot was going to be absolutely ridiculous. You know what they did this time? And maybe this tells you how ridiculous the plot was, that they felt the need to do this. But I think if you're like a nitpicky sort of person, the issue you would have with Game of Thrones for the last like 2 years is that a lot of stuff is implied. Like there's a lot of things that happen where a character does something like completely nonsensical if you really think like logic it through and think about what their motivation should
Stannis?
be. Yeah. Basically, or like all the stuff Davos did afterwards, like Davos supporting Jon Snow inexplicably, or like staying with his dead body and all the other ridiculous crap. But like, or Davos asking Melisandre to bring Davos back or Jon back because he believes in magic suddenly when he hates magic and magic killed his kids.
And he doesn't know the importance. He doesn't know the importance of Jon Snow.
Yeah,
yet.
Jon Snow's just some dude he just met. But but a lot of that stuff, a lot of these ridiculous like plot holes, you could imagine in your head like one line that they could have slipped in, like one like 5-second line they could have slipped in that would have made the plot holes make sense, and they just didn't. They're just like fuck you, we're not doing it. This is what we're doing. And I felt like in this last episode they put all those lines in. They put like all these little qualifier things like explain people's motivations, and it's all like a lot of people have won it, for the last couple of years basically. So I thought that made the episode more plausible and believable.
So I'm a pretty good evaluator of weight, how heavy things are, because that's what I do. Like I ship things all day, and Gendry's Warhammer, if it's made of steel, iron and steel, same weight. It was probably about the size of a football, and on the other end, terribly balanced, size of a softball with like points and everything. That Warhammer had to be at least 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And but if you think about it, like in the books, Robert Baratheon, he had a Warhammer that he wielded with one hand, where Ned Stark could barely lift with two hands.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like that King's Blood sort of thing. It's like they
and then Stark used ice too. That was sort of most other people couldn't lift.
Right. And so it's like they talk about how strong Robert Baratheon is, and then they have Gendry have a 40-pound Warhammer.
Yeah.
Like I've seen at the Franklin Institute or the Art Museum, I've seen like the Warhammers. They're probably the size of, like the back end is about the size of a pill bottle.
Yeah, it's like a little bigger than a regular hammer.
The front end's about the size of a pint glass.
Yeah.
And they're about 4 or 5 pounds, and they're wielded double-handed because it takes so much energy. That Warhammer was the size of a football. And I was like, that's like 40 pounds.
Yeah. But no, they made me pretty excited about Gendry, and previously I didn't give any shits about Gendry.
Just think about it. It's the Avengers of people. Yeah. So everybody has a purpose. The only Gendry has a Warhammer, and he's been training for 3 years apparently. That's all I could take away. The only person that isn't important there, that doesn't have like a superpower, is Jon Snow. But he's the only one with Valyrian.
He's Captain America.
Yeah. Thoros Amir can resurrect Beric Dondarrion.
He's like the necromancer.
Beric Dondarrion, according to the previews, has a sword that he can turn on like a lightsaber. Yeah. Gendry has a 40-pound Warhammer, which will just crush anything.
Yeah.
The Mountain has
the Hound.
The Hound has cut a man in half lengthwise through Gambison, which is impenetrable with a sword, and Chainmail, which is also impenetrable by a sword, in half lengthwise. You have Tormund Greatsbeard or
Giant's Bane.
Tormund Giantsbane, who has this giant ice axe,
and a huge beard.
And a huge beard. He's one of the best characters. I love how he's like the big woman. He's like in love. He's like me. Like I love tall women. Yeah. And then you have Sir Jorah, who's just like he's
real sad.
He's a great fighter. But he's past his prime. Like, that's his thing. Like, he's fighting for love right now.
Yeah.
Then you have Jon, who's just fighting for the North. He's just really noble. But the only thing he has is, like, Valyrian. He's the only one Valyrian. Yeah. And then Beric Dondarrion has a flame sword. So those two people. And here's what I think is going to happen. Because Daenerys is obviously in love with Jon now. And with maybe even as a father figure, Jorah.
Is Daenerys the worst character?
She is the worst character. Yeah. She is going to fly up and burn half the army out.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they're all gonna die. Jon's not, and then Jon's gonna take another dragon. He's gonna dragonfly, and they're gonna fly back down to wherever.
And then they're gonna do it. The dragons will be doing it in the background while they're doing it in the foreground.
Yeah.
It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, is a big woman coming? And I was like, yes. I just hope there's like 2 characters I don't want to die. I just want them to retire. Yeah. Tormund.
Yeah.
And the sellsword. I can't think of his name.
Oh, Bronn.
Bronn.
Yeah, Bronn's pretty awesome.
Bronn has jumped the shark at this point. But I just want him to go back to his keep and just like start killing people so he could become Lord.
Just go back to his keep, just start making babies.
No, he's great.
Yeah. I don't know. I was Yeah, I was pretty excited. I really don't know what's gonna happen going forward. At least we got to the point where it's a little less predictable at this point.
Right.
I guess what I want to happen, I want this truce to happen. Cersei and Jaime to totally fortify King's Landing. Just line the wall with scorpions at this point.
Well, what's it called? In the preview, the preview for the episode, they show Dany, Cersei, the Mountain, Jon Snow, and somebody else in one of the rooms, and then they show the Mountain chop at the one of the whites, or not the White Walker, the zombie thing. Yeah,
White.
Chop at it, and it still keeps coming, and it chops at it again, and it's and I think that's going to be this season.
Okay.
But it was crazy how they made it. I thought they were going back to White Harbor, but no, they went up to Eastwatch by the Sea.
Yeah, there's all kinds of fucking time travel shit.
Yeah, that was time travel because at the 1,000 miles, I've driven 1,000 miles. That takes I don't know, 12 hours by car, let alone at 13 knots in a boat.
Yeah.
Or however fast. So I didn't realize this until I did research that the Greyjoys are on the other side of the Westeros. Yeah. I was like, how are they not running the Greyjoys? But,
they're over there.
Being an East Coast guy, I always feel like everything's on the East Coast. Like Westeros, or not Westeros.
Essos?
No.
Iron Islands?
Iron Islands was on the East Coast. So I figure White Harbor's on the East Coast, and then they go up to White, and then East. No, it's on the West Coast, so they're all over there. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think in my head some of the geography is weird. Dorne you can picture the north, you can picture.
Dorne's always south because of the desert.
The Iron Islands, I knew where they were, but the Stormlands, I always pictured the Stormlands where the crown, where or where the Westerlands are, because the Stormlands are right on top of King's Landing, and they're northeast of King's Landing.
So I've always been asked throughout life, because I've always had friends that love medieval times or whatever, and I've always been asked the question oh, what kind of person you would be, and then I was like, oh, I'd be a person on Bear Island, and I'm I would be a poor person on in the Stormlands, and I was talking to a guy at work, and he's one of my best friends at work, and we were talking about something. I was like, my family in Italy were paupers. I'm a pauper. My kids are going to be paupers. I was like, you don't just work your way out of this life you have, you have to win the lottery or invent something or something has to happen. And I'm okay with my life, but I know in Westeros, I would just be a poor guy.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. I guess being in medicine, you always, that's sort of what you always identify with. You'd be like a medic or or be a maester at this, be at the Citadel or something. I don't know. I feel like that's what, that's my comfort. Like World War III breaks out with North Korea is I'll be in the, I'll be in the medical corps. So, we'll be far away.
Yeah. I don't want World War III, but hopefully I have my master's by then. That way I can be a therapist at the VA. Then patients just keep coming. I always have patients. Right now I work for an aerospace company. Long story short, we make materials for planes, for armies around the world.
So it really work out well for you guys.
We're super busy right now, and I'm in 2.5 years, I'll be a practicing therapist. I'm hoping. Yeah. So if there is a war, I'll just always have a job talking to people, which sounds real negative, but I'm it's money for my family. Yeah. I can move up.
At least it's better than being an infantryman or something.
I can move up in the world for my status, my social status. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that, in the worst way possible.
Yeah. Don't you kind of feel like Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un would get along? Yeah. If they just
definitely Kim Jong Un and North Korea. They're North Korea's I'm the best, and then Donald Trump's I'm the best too. Yeah. They start high fiving and shit.
Yeah, I mean, I can just imagine they just had a neutral meeting somewhere. They just come out and they're like, oh, we decided we're both the best. It's great. I don't know. I was I was talking about the other day. I was joking about, like I don't understand what Kim Jong Un wants. Like Donald Trump should just like go on Twitter and be like, look, I've seen it, guys. Kim Jong Un's penis is 3 feet long. It's fucking enormous. He has the biggest penis on the planet. Problem solved. And then like North Korea will be like, oh yeah, no, that's true. Oh, it's good. It's fine now. It's fine.
He's right. I have the biggest penis.
Yep.
All my generals have a very large penis.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the generals? They have like medals all the way down to their knee.
Yeah.
And it's like I saw this thing online. It said North Korea could never win a naval battle because all their generals would just sink from all the gold.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, so I don't know if anybody can tell my voice. I have thrown away the beer. I'm not doing beer. On the beer table right now, I'm drinking citrus vodka and water. It's delicious.
Like multiple glasses of it at this point.
Yeah, like not a shot's worth, like 2 or 3 ounces at a point.
So.
Yeah. But I really think like you're right. Kim Jong Un, he's like, I'm #1 leader, and then Trump is like to say he's like, I'm #1 leader too, but like he's like, I'm #1. I'm so #1 that if there was a one that is better than 1, I'd be that number. And you're like that sounds very Donald Trump like,
Yeah, I saw a. Well, I think I don't know if I sent it to you on Messenger. If I put it on Snapchat the other day. It was like one of those Facebook quiz, and it was like who said it? Trump Trump or Kim Jong Un.
Yeah, it was on Snapchat. Yeah, my sister. I love talking to my sister. My sister has cerebral palsy, and she's mentally retarded. Like but she's a great person. She's one of the nicest people I've ever met. She'll help anybody. She'll talk to you, and I'm very proud of her. She's 31 now.
Yeah.
She lives in a group home. She's doing great. She's doing the best she has in 12 years, right?
Yeah.
And I talk to her once a week, once every 2 weeks, and she's one of those people that has a heart, and like a great heart, doesn't know any troubles in the world. Yeah. And I'm talking to her, and I thought she was Trump's speechwriter, and I was like, hey, Chris, how's it going? She's like, good. And we're talking about, and she's like, oh, we get to make our own food, or like our helper, they help us make food. And I'm like, oh, well, what's your favorite thing to eat? She's like, mac and cheese. And I was like, oh, great. I was like, I'm real good. Cause my dad used to make this mac and cheese, homemade baked macaroni and cheese, which was delicious. And, it's the best. Right. And I was like, I can make Dad's mac and cheese like almost on point. And she's like, oh, yeah? She's like, I make mac and cheese. She's like, I got Kraft mac and cheese. We got the Kraft Minute mac and cheese. We make the box mac and cheese. We make homemade mac and cheese. We got the best mac and cheese. And then she went on for mac and cheese. And I was like, she's like, you name it, we got it. It's mac and cheese. She's like, I can make it. Like, she goes on for I was like, are you Trump's speechwriter? And then she laughs, but she has this, she has cerebral palsy, so she can't laugh like a normal person. Yeah. So it's like the cutest laugh. She's like, ha, and then and I'm like, I think it's funny that someone who has cerebral palsy and mental retardation, you make a Trump joke and they laugh about it, they understand it, like who writes his speeches? Yeah.
I don't know. It's got to be him, right? I don't know.
Yeah. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Right? People were like, he's an idiot. No, he's an actual smart guy.
Yeah, he's clearly not an idiot because he became the president. So
people think he says big league. He doesn't. He says bigly.
Yeah. And
bigly's a real word. I had to look into it. And guy I work with voted for Trump.
Yeah.
And
he voted for him bigly.
Yeah, he voted for him.
Just normal? Just normal vote?
Just normal.
Just counted for one.
He hated Hillary.
Yeah.
He voted for Trump because he was like, well, maybe Trump will get assassinated and Pence will become president.
So it was really just a vote for Pence.
Yeah, he voted for Pence because he's like, I don't like Pence either, but at least, he's better than Hillary. He's like, I know nothing about Pence. but I know Hillary's a liar.
Yeah. It's pretty bad when it's like, well, I don't know anything about that guy, so I mean, he's got to be better.
Yeah. So, So now I'm filling up my second giant swig of citrus vodka.
We should probably wrap this up before this really hits you here.
So yeah, so we're gonna end this at exactly 1 hour.
Really?
Because that's what we do every week on Whole Wheat Costa.